What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down, what is moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi is up 1.6%, 27.03 the high. So it is starting to hit some intraday highs right now, 26.22 the low. So today has been quite the interesting day, but this push higher is very abnormal and is solely just occurring with SoFi. So today I want to break it down on what's causing all this hell and everything else. And a lot of that's because of data. And so for those of you that have been tuning into a lot of my videos, I did mention that eventually the market's going to have a epiphany where it will finally realize that it's not getting a January rate cut, because the market seems to be very fixated on that. And it wants that to be the next big catalyst. And unfortunately, we've been getting some relatively good data. The market doesn't want good. No different than today. We had ADP employment came in at 11.5. That's good. Market doesn't want that. So as a byproduct of all that, now we have a 2.8% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So a lot of this now is moving to March. So expectations are currently 26.8% for that. And then in addition, we did have CPI. So for face value, it did come in a little bit hotter. So came in at 0.3 versus 0.2 for the forecast, and then year over year 2.7 versus 2.6. So this is what caused a little bit of a freak out in the broader market. But as per usual, what you need to do is look at the true data to see what this is kind of saying. And if we look at this, so the month over month, it shows that energy did go up 0.3, meaning the other basket items did in fact go down. So this data, yes, it came in hotter, but it's kind of a false read, and it's not as bad as what the market's really portraying. So in a lot of cases, you're seeing some buy the dip, not as to the same magnitude as SoFi. And a lot of that is because of some very, very interesting transactions. So right now, the largest being 7.9 million that is being done on the secondary market. And even aside from that, a lot of buying. So anything with a ask is a buy, occasional selling here and there, but you do see a lot of buying throughout the trading day. And then on the dark pool, you're seeing some pretty big transactions, and actually some just occurred recently, but 6.9 million, 5.6, 3.2, 2.3, 1.6. So a lot of big money is getting into SoFi today, despite there being no official news. So no press releases, no SEC filings or anything like that. For those of you that tuned in again to my video, I think like 2 weeks ago, I did signal that there might be a acquisition coming, and that would be maybe announced somewhere around January the 8th, and that was BlockFi. So SoFi Insider was saying that SoFi acquired them and blah, blah, blah. In case you don't know, BlockFi, they went Chapter 11, so they went BK, kind of organizing with their creditors right now, and there was a meeting that was done on January the 8th, and these are the minutes, and unfortunately, there is absolutely no note of SoFi at all. And so in general, for those of you that are curious, they do have to disclose that. So they can't keep this secret at all. So if the trustee has a willing buyer, they have to propose that to the creditors. So the fact that nothing was mentioned, it is fair to assume that BlockFi isn't getting acquired by SoFi, but I'm pretty sure most people generally kind of knew that was a little bit more speculative. But aside from that, only thing as well I just wanted to kind of bring up, which Anthony did retweet, was posted by Ken, and it's just simply how SoFi allows its members to participate in IPOs. A lot of places don't do that, so this is something that I feel SoFi throughout 2023 was really pushing and saying, hey, we have this like opportunity, obviously incentivizing some member growth. This is something that we haven't really seen happen too frequently under SoFi, but having this one, BTGO, definitely pretty good stuff. So it looks like January 22nd, 2026 IPO for that. So that should be a pretty good thing overall. Regarding shorts, they are returning about 85,000 shares. 9.43% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 116.93 million shares overall are being shorted. Some of you might be wondering, how did it jump up? How is there now 116 million shares being shorted? And technically signs of naked shorting occurring. 2 times per month, that's when the exchange does disclose a true amount of shares being shorted. It's always delayed, so they did put this out after hours yesterday. So as of December the 30th, there was 117.3 million shares being shorted, and that works out to be 9.46% of the free float. So that does mean from December the 14th to December the 30th, shorts returned about 1 million shares more than what we thought, and that was done primarily through the dark pool. So very interesting stuff. So with the most recent data, it actually does show that there is legitimate naked shorting occurring with SoFi. So definitely interesting for sure. But aside from that, looking at options, 33 million in calls, 13 in puts, and 44% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. Most of that, though, is done in the first half of the trading day. Then it had a moment of kind of quiet period, and then things are starting to heat up with SoFi. So I don't know if someone knows something ahead of time, because there was some very big transactions that kickstarted all of this. So as far as I'm aware, there was nothing mentioned by any key members from SoFi. There was no news, no speculative articles. So maybe something big is going to be being kind of announced after hours. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 27 to 28 by the end of this Friday. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 25.50 to 26. So definitely a lot more upside, but orientation is more downside. But then again, that is because most of that was done in the first half of the trading day. With it right now at 26.97, there's about an hour left in the trading day. It is trading between this pivot and this S1. So this S1 has been the saving grace for 2 days now. So both days, yesterday and today, bounced below that briefly, and then this kind of had a nice V-shaped bounce, and that's kind of a good thing. Typically, though, what does happen every time a stock bounces off of either a strong support or resistance, especially twice, usually you see a nice V-shaped push higher. In SoFi's case, they always do that naturally. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we hit that 27.76. But although we do have some pretty big data coming out tomorrow on a side note, so we have PPI, retail sales, and existing home sales, all hot topics in the eyes of the feds. Plus we do have the whole kind of Supreme Court ruling, so that as well might have some institutions to be quiet, no different than what happened last Friday. So don't be surprised if we see some extremely low volume, but a couple of points to watch for again. So that 27.76, and then if that's able to kind of break, then 29.22. And as I mentioned, I do believe by the end of this week, we should be somewhere between this R1 and the pivot, more oriented towards that 29 in my opinion. But nonetheless, and aside from that, looking quickly over here, so on the actual chart, it still, even though it's having a pretty good day, it is below the 10-day moving average, and a lot of the other key ones generally I like to look at, so the 50 as well as 100, so just generally watch for that. But because of the kind of volatile consolidation it's had over the last couple of trading days, stochastic RSI is at 28, so arguably it is kind of oversold. So that's kind of a good thing. You have a lot more willing buyers today than you have had over the last week. So definitely you have a lot of good support right here. I'm looking at the market position on a side note, and willing sellers, it looks like a lot of them did push their kind of orders back to around that $29 range. So all SoFi needs is the green light from the broader market or other news. Maybe there might be some news coming out after hours possibly, but all SoFi needs is a nice gentle push. Then it could easily get back above this 50-day moving average and seeing $29. That's where it might face this wall right here, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with SoFi? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.